Catalyzing Enlightenment. Inquiry as Practice. When I was in seminary, the standard for my practice was and is to have a mindset of an enlightened Tathagata, the mindset of Sotaesan, the founding teacher of Won Buddhism. Whenever I face challenges, I ask myself, what would Sotaesan do now? When I had difficulty practicing and learning, I wondered how Sotaesan would guide me, what his secret teaching style would be. A catalyst is a substance that increases the speed of reaction. For example, in our everyday lives, the catalysts in our bodies help us digest food. We use catalyst when we wash clothes and make cheese and kimchi. Sotaesan's teachings are kind of catalyst for our spiritual growth, serving to move us along the path of enlightenment. Let's look at 3 good passages that show how Sotaesan used examples from daily life to impart his wisdom. First passage, number 32 from chapter 3, Practice. The founding master told a disciple who ate too fast and talked too much. Eating a meal or speaking a single word is also practice. If one eats too fast or too much, one is likely to become ill. And if one says unnecessary things or deviates from the right way, then misfortune will readily occur. How, then, can one become careless by considering eating a meal or speaking a word to be trivial acts? Thus, a practitioner must see every situation as an opportunity to practice and take pleasure in always responding appropriately. You, too, must set your heart upon this practice. End quote. This passage is straightforward. Sotaesan explains it step by step in an easy-to-understand language, like teaching a young child. Fast eating and too much talking can lead to more problems. Sotaesan also points out that we should take care of even the most minor things and regard these as opportunities to inquire and investigate for ourselves. Let's look at another example. In the principal book of Won Buddhism, Sotaesan describes the fourfold grace like this. If we wish to easily understand the grace we have received from heaven and earth, parents, fellow beings, and laws, we first must consider whether we could sustain our existence and live without that grace. Even the ignorant would acknowledge that we could not live without this grace. If there is a relationship in which we cannot live without the other, then where would there be a grace greater than that? End quote. Is there anything in the world that is not grace? And here is an interesting passage in which Sotaesan talks about his way of teaching. In it, Sotaesan gives some guidance to 2 elderly monks who harshly scolded a young novice. The elderly monks complained, "This novice is not willing to practice meditation. That kind of person could not be delivered even if 1,000 Buddhas appeared. He is trash." It's in the Red Book. In answer to their concerns, Sotaesan replied, "Whether or not to meditate is up to the young novice. It is your responsibility to help them realize that meditation is beneficial. It is as if you dug the gold from the mine and used it well. Everyone around you would see the benefit and then naturally rush to the gold mine themselves." End quote. By being a good example, you can teach without saying a word, and that seems powerful. In each of these three passages, Sotaesan uses the same teaching skills, inviting practitioners into our own reflections and inquiry. Sotaesan invites us to think and investigate for ourselves. When I was in a seminary course once, I was peeved by my friend's words. He said, "I'm a person who loves to learn." Then I thought, what? Why do you say that all of a sudden? And who here doesn't? For me, he seemed to be just showing off his practice. At that time, actually, I was negligent in my learning and my practice, as I was busy living my college life and not quite as focused as I might have been. Deep inside my mind, I might have known I was not a good enough practitioner, while my friend was in the process of being willing to learn. His words could have sparked the changes in my life at that moment, but I wasn't ready, and it took a long time for me to be aware of that. And as you know, we've gone through each line of essential Dharma this year, but not until this July, during our month-long contemplation of essential Dharma number 7, let us turn reluctance to learn into willingness to learn well, did I remember my friend's words and have a deep insight about how I approach learning. So in this Dharma hall, we talked about the meaning of learning. How can we learn well? What are some resistance or hindrances to it? And then we asked ourselves, where are we on our journey of learning? Unlike my seminary days, my awareness is now broader. As I look around, I find myself having all kinds of questions around, and they are catalyzing my enlightenment. This is why keeping a journal of our awakenings and impressions, the process of being aware and sharing our own aha moment, was highly valued 100 years ago and remains a central part of our practice. Many sages are said to have found enlightenment through the trivial things of everyday life, such as the sound of a bell or waterfall, when bamboo hits a tiled roof, when being tripped over a stone, when a candle suddenly goes out, or by catching their reflection in the water. The universe is full of catalysts. Chances are near you. From great things like Mother Nature or universal laws, to small things like eating and talking. Look around. Cool autumn breeze, a bird chirping sound, twinkling stars, a smell of rainy day, the warmth of sip of tea, or simply chatting with our body. Any of these can become our great scripture, our holy Dharma. It is up to us. So are you ready to be aware and inquire? What instances, situations, or fleeting moments have been catalysts of enlightenment for you? Thank you.